Hey friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com again, and part 6, Sola Busca. This video, I'm just looking at the pips, the swords in particular, and I wanted to see if there was any continuity, any flow, any participation between the cards. And I'll flip the camera so we can take a look at it. Well, as you can see, I can't quite get them all to show up, but I'll hold them up when the time comes. So I'm looking, mostly I wanted to just see if there was any kind of continuum between the cards. And I'm not sure that there are. In the first two cards, we have two individuals. There may or may not be a similarity between them. This fella in the ace here has like a feather that curls like a cobra. And this doesn't quite do that, but it is a little bit reminiscent. However, I don't see any similarity between these two groups of people. So, yeah, I'm not really sure if there's a continuation here. Now we can look at the next fella, Three of Swords. And it's the first card then, after the first two, where there is no person. Patrick O'Time, one of my viewers, commented on my last video when I was talking about the Sacred Heart of Jesus, and maybe this meant something different to the individuals of the Renaissance than maybe the Three of Swords of the Rider-Waite-Smith deck. But Patrick indicated that these three swords kind of reminded them of maybe the three nails in Christ's crucifixion, in which case I guess it would have a very similar feel to the Three of Swords of the Rider-Waite-Smith. So I'm not sure. You know, part of me, you know, excuse me, part of me just thinks about the Sacred Heart of Jesus, like the images that I used to see on my grandmother's walls and the mass cards of my ancestors, and just kind of feeling like, you know, the suffering of Christ, you know, kind of solidifies our devotion to him, you know, for those who believe in it. I say we in the collective sense of people who, you know, might participate in the Catholic Church. But then the three nails, this symbolizing the three nails, is also very compelling. But I don't see a connection here, you know, unless... Now, if these are the three nails of Christ, I mean, could these be stages of, you know, getting Christ on the cross? But I don't see either of these, you know, maybe representing Christ. I don't know. And then from the 3 to the 4, we have a reference to death, some type of animal skull. Those things that kind of remind us of the bells on the Fool, you know, like the, you know, the little bells that make noise. Patrick called them jingle bells, which that's exactly what they look like. But I don't know if that's what they are. So then we have this wreath, you know, there is the motif of the wreath. There is reference to death. If this represents the nails of Christ's crucifixion, maybe. Then we look at the 5th card, but I don't see any reference to Christ at all. I'm not a person who's adept in alchemy, but this kind of gives me an alchemical look, right? It gives me a feel like something is a flame. Now, these points that remind me of a flame are really just the points that of the swords that are protruding at the bottom of this vessel, you know. But it almost, you know, kind of reminds me of something brewing, even though it's not. And then we look at the 6. And a person returns. So a person has been absent since card 3, 4, and 5, and then now a person reappears. And then in card 7, another person walking in the same direction appears. And they both seem to be having the same function. They both seem to be clumsily carrying swords. Now, up until this point, I think it's worth noting that all of the swords have been in their sheaths, every single one since the beginning. So we just see the swords as red, right? Every one of these swords has been sheathed. So they're not a threat. None of these swords have been a threat yet, which is kind of interesting. Then we get to the 8th card. Again, they're all sheathed. I did make reference to the SPQR in my last video, just kind of a stamping to kind of indicate that this is the property of ancient Rome, or the property of Rome. It wouldn't have been ancient at that time. And we have this person. And as this person flows to the 9th person, again, there's collecting sheathed swords in a vessel. Yeah, so I don't really know what the story is here. And then we have 10. Maybe it's a good thing to have 10 of these things. Maybe the goal is to collect swords. Maybe the more swords one had, the more prestigious they were. Could that be something? Then we have the youthful page. And he is a young man of leisure. Then we have the first time that the sword is unsheathed with the knight. And he's facing this young man. And I hate to think that he's interacting with this young man, because it looks like he's ready to pounce on this young man, which I don't think is the case, because the pages or the valets would have served the knights, who in turn would have served the king and queen. So I'm not really sure if these two together are showing any kind of aggression here. This guy's showing aggression. I don't think so. And then the queen. Now it seems that all the queens all seem to have the same head gesture, which I've been noticing the more I just look at these cards. So I'm wondering if that head posture of the queen, which looks very uncomfortable, is not significant of, I don't know, is something that we would have understood in the Renaissance. She's holding her sword erect, but it's sheathed. And then the king, very dynamic, Alexander. But again, his sword is sheathed. So that's kind of interesting. So we're 9 minutes in. Should I do maybe one other one other category? Maybe we'll do the cups. So again, we have the Ace of Cups, Next to the Two of Cups, we have 3 putti playing music. These two are playing music. This one's pouring water or whatever. This putti's playing music on the 2. Here on the 3. So it seems like for the first and second cards of both of these suits, there are human or living beings on the first 2 cards. Then from 3 in that other suit to I think it was 6, there was no people. But that's not the case here. So 3 and 4, we go back to having people in 4. And to 5, I mean, could it be said that this guy is this guy? And after, maybe they fell in hard times, the bag is a little torn. Did he take the things that were special to his family and just decide maybe he had to sell them? I don't know. I mean, this is very interesting. We have a dog tugging at his clothing, which is falling down. So he's passing through. He's kind of reminiscent of the Fool that we sometimes see in some of the Italian decks, you know, which of course doesn't have all this other stuff, but he does have some type of staff. Now this doesn't look like the typical Fool staff, but it's kind of interesting. So do they have to pack up their wares to take them to market to sell? But then here with the 6th card, I'm at a loss. So I'm thinking maybe there is no continuum between, there's no story continuum between the pips. From 7 to 8. Eight to 9. Nine to 10. Is this guy? He's sort of got a floating head. He doesn't seem to be attached. And then from 10 to the Page, who seems to be boiling water. It seems like steam is coming from the spout, not the spout, but the lid, the vent in the lid. So the knight here seems to be holding his helmet. He has wings. His foot is bandaged. The Queen again with a tilted head. And then her king, they don't seem to have any interaction with one another at all. Very interesting. Well, I'll just do the other two suits the next time. But the reason I just thought I would, let me flip the camera. The reason I thought I would do this, and some of my videos just might be hit or miss, is just to see if there's a continuum between the cards of the pip suits, you know. But I don't see that. I'm not really seeing a continuum. Now, it could be because I don't live in ancient Rome, or I don't live in medieval Rome, so I wouldn't have readily understood maybe what their references are. But it doesn't seem like there is a story or that one card depends on another card. It doesn't seem like that. And even if it's a bust, it's still a learning process, right? It's still a learning. Oh, I wanted to mention that Patrick Time, who is one of my subscribers and comments quite a bit, very good information. You should always check below and read some of the dialogue that some of the viewers make, because a lot of the times they add a lot of interesting information to the conversation. But in my former video, I think I mentioned that the expression trahor fatis I found on 3 cards. And Patrick showed me, or spelled out to me, that postumio, which was the number 2 card in the triumph order, also has trahor fatis written on the shield, but you could barely see it. You could barely see fatis, and then you can just see the OR, so I guess it's understood that it's trahor fatis. And in 3 of those cards, in 2 of those cards, I noticed that there was like an asterisk or a star kind of thing with rays coming from it. And on his shield, there is an asterisk. Now, it doesn't have the same kind of rays coming from the star like the other 2 did, but it's interesting that it's still there. And I had thought maybe that the star could have been a reference to a celestial event that happened not too far away from when this deck was created. I think in 1472, a comet came by. And comets, you know, I think celestial events were noticeable then. I mean, they're noticeable now. I participated in we traveled to go see the solar eclipse earlier this year. And it was quite a thing, you know. So I can only imagine what certain celestial events, how it must have been very important to individuals from different periods of time. So it struck me that maybe the trahor fatis with the star motif might have been referencing a celestial event that happened, you know, because, you know, we're sort of at the mercy of the universe, really, right? But Patrick indicated that maybe it's more like not referencing a celestial event that might have happened recently, but just in general, referencing the destinies and the stars, that kind of thing. So I am drawn by fate, which is what trahor fatis meant. I am drawn by fate would just be a reference to the stars, and not necessarily the comet that I was mentioning. But maybe it's referencing both things. I don't know. Okay, until next time, peace.